What's up everybody, RetroWolf88 here, and today I got to experience something I had never experienced before, and that was a gaming expo. In Nashville, Tennessee, me and my good friend Doug went to the Grand Ole Gaming Expo, which is a gaming expo full of arcade machines, pinball machines, retro video games, modern video games, and vendors. And in today's video I want to tell you all about that experience, as well as show you a few pickups I got from the expo. And then at the very end of the video I'm going to reveal a massive announcement for the channel that you are not going to want to miss, so make sure you stick around to the end of the video for that. So be sure and hit that subscribe button so that you can join the Retro Wolf family, and let's talk about my experience at my first gaming expo. So the Grand Ole Gaming Expo in Nashville, Tennessee is a yearly gaming expo. I had no idea it even existed until my friend Doug told me about it and we made plans to go check it out. It's a weekend-long expo from Friday to Sunday, and we decided to go on the last day of the expo, being Sunday. And I went into this expo not knowing what to expect because, like I told you in the intro, I've never gone to a gaming expo before, so this was a brand new experience for me, and boy did I have a blast. So this expo was at a hotel on sort of the outskirts of downtown Nashville, which was pretty nice. We didn't have to deal with downtown traffic. Parking was nice and easy. It was just a short walk to the hotel from where we parked. The weather was nice, felt great outside. We handed our ticket, we got our wristband, and then when they finally opened the doors at 10 a.m., it was like walking into just a magical wonderland of gaming. We walked into this huge room that was just jam-packed full of arcade machines and pinball machines. This room, it was mainly pinball machines, but there were a decent amount of arcade machines in there too. I would say there was probably at least 30 to 40 arcade machines and probably about 50 to 60 pinball machines. I mean, it was just packed full of arcade and pinball machines, and it was awesome. The first thing we noticed when we walked in that main room, to our left, there was this little table with two chairs, and it was a Pong table, and it was a two-player Pong game. You could play it one player as well, but what was really cool about this game, right, you had a button to release, to serve your Pong dot, I don't know what the hell it's called, and then you had a little circular knob to control your paddle. Now what was really cool about this game is it wasn't a screen. You were controlling a real paddle, a real block paddle, and it was a real square moving back and forth, and we think that it was controlled by magnets. I don't know for sure, but I think that it was controlled by magnets, and it was just very, very, very cool. We sucked at it. We tried to play two-player. We didn't do very good. Doug tried to play single-player so I could get some footage of that. He didn't do very good, but it was a lot of fun nonetheless, and we still don't quite know how it worked, but it was very intriguing. If you're familiar with this particular device and you know how it works, let me know that in the comments down below. We then decided to go clockwise around the room, checking out the arcades, and there were a ton of amazing arcade machines. There was stuff like Gauntlet 2, Cubert, X-Men, Spy Hunter, Cruisin' USA, Cruisin' Exotica, 18-wheeler. There were some light gun games like Lethal Enforcer and some kind of ninja light gun game. I can't remember what it was called, but that one was a blast. Star Wars Return of the Jedi, Donkey Kong Classic, Double Dragon, Spy Hunter, Space Invaders, several SNK games, Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo. There were just so many really cool arcade games. And one that I thought was the coolest personally, just because I had never seen anything like this before, there was a Super Monkey Ball arcade game, right? And it's not a very long game. You just play one level and then you do a bonus stage, but you control it using this really cool glowing color changing sparkly roller ball thing to control your monkey ball. So it's almost like you're rolling the monkey ball around, and that was a lot of fun. That was a lot funner than I thought it was going to be. It was really cool, and for me, I don't know why, but that was the highlight of the arcade machines for me, just because of how different it was and how fun it was to play. I also had a lot of fun playing Cruisin' World with the actual steering wheel and the gas pedal and everything. That was a lot of fun. And Spy Hunter actually had gas pedal set up as well, and that was really cool, even though that game is hard as hell on the arcade. They also had Ghosts and Goblins on the arcade, and that is just as hard as you would expect it to be. The arcade version is not any easier than any other version. But we had a lot of fun playing the arcade games. And then we moved on to the pinball machines. And there were so many pinball machines. Now, I'll be the first to tell you, I suck at pinball. Doug sucks too, he'll admit it as well. We're not very good at pinball, but it was still a lot of fun checking out all these pinball machines with all the colors and all the designs and the sound effects and the strobe lights, and some of them even had screens with animations and stuff. And there was just every kind of pinball machine that you can think of, all sorts of different pop culture machines. You had stuff like X-Men, Batman, Terminator, Tales from the Crypt, Star Wars, Jurassic Park, Guardians of the Galaxy, Elvira. I think there was even a Baywatch pinball machine. There were just so many pinball machines, and they were just a lot of fun to play. I really liked the Tales from the Crypt pinball machine. That one was pretty cool. There were some race car themed pinball machines. There was a Lord of the Rings pinball machine. I've never seen so many pinball machines in one place before. Everything was free to play as long as you buy your ticket. Everything's free to play, the arcades, the pinball machines. And it was just an absolute blast just exploring that room, checking out all the arcades and the pinball machines and just playing them, having a good time. It wasn't super crowded, probably because it was the last day of the expo. So we didn't have to wait in line for any machine or anything like that. People moved along pretty quickly. So we got to make our rounds relatively quickly and check everything out. And it was just a lot of fun. There weren't very many vendors there. There was about 3 vendors selling retro games and different pop culture icons, and they had some pretty cool stuff. Their prices were relatively reasonable. And then there was one vendor that was selling these cool little pixel art designs made out of beads. I was kind of on a budget, so I didn't get to really get a whole lot pickup wise, but I did get this because I'm a big fan of Grumpy Cat, and I saw this is a magnet. So it's a picture of Grumpy Cat and it just says no. And it is a magnet, so you can stick that on your fridge. I couldn't resist it, but the guy does really great work, and he had a ton of pixel art creations like this. And he gave me his card if anybody wants to check him out. I'll leave his info in the description of the video down below in case you want to potentially buy some stuff from him, if you want to go check him out and potentially get some of this for yourself. Now, another funny thing that I thought was pretty cool in the arcade area is there was as far as security goes, there was a police officer kind of making his rounds in the whole place, but the police officer was actually playing pinball machines and arcade machines as well. I thought that was pretty cool because I would do the same thing if I was a police officer working that area. I mean, why not have a little fun while you're there making sure everybody's safe? So I thought that was pretty cool. Now, as we exited the main room and started to check out some of the vendors, that's when we saw the rooms with the retro game setup, and this was freaking awesome. So there were 3 different rooms. The first room we went into was just lined around the room and in the middle of the room with old tube TVs with just various retro consoles hooked up. Just about every retro console you can think of existed in that room. I got to play some, I believe it was Contra Hardcore on the Sega Genesis, the Japanese version. I got to play that. That was a lot of fun. I got to play Die Hard Arcade on the Sega Saturn for the first time, and let me tell you something, that game is a freaking blast. It's a Die Hard beat-em-up game. It's super over the top, and it was just so much fun to play. It almost made me want to get a Sega Saturn and buy that game. That's how much fun it was to play. So check out Die Hard Arcade. But we made our rounds. I played some Duck Hunt with Doug using the second controller to control the ducks, and that was pretty fun. But they had all the retro consoles hooked up with games to play. A lot of them had multi-carts so that you could choose from different games. Most of the consoles had more than one controller hooked up so that you could sit down and play some multiplayer. And it was just really cool. And it was really cool to go in there and see younger kids in there playing some of these retro games as well. I thought that was really awesome. Then we moved further down and we saw another room that was full of small flat screen HD TVs lining the walls and in the middle and hooked up with modern consoles like the Wii U, modern HD consoles, 360, PS4, Xbox One. So it just had all the sort of modern consoles in there with various games ready to go and play, and that was really cool as well. We didn't stick around that room too much. And then there was another room that had modern consoles on one side, and then it had VR on the other side, so you could actually go in there and play PlayStation VR. And they also had an HTC Vive set up where you could get on the HTC Vive. They were playing, they were doing Beat Saber on the Vive, so you could get on there and play some Beat Saber. We didn't mess around with any of the VR because that's just not really what we came there for, but it was cool to see that nonetheless. Now, this brings me to my second sort of pickup while I was there. So as we were walking through the vendors, it's pretty funny. There was a vendor set up, but it wasn't your typical vendor. They stopped us and they said, "Hey, would you like a free game mat?" And we're both like, "Well, yeah, I like free things." So all we had to do to get a free game mat was fill out a little box with our email, name, that sort of thing, for a mailing list. It was AT&T Fiber. They were trying to sign people up for AT&T Fiber, as you can see. And here's the game mat that I got. Pretty nice game mat, very large. If you like card and board games and things like that, this will be a nice mat to play things like that on. Game on, elevate your gameplay. It was free. You can't beat free. What was funny though is as we were on our way back through, I guess the chick that gave me this game mat and had me sign up, she forgot. So she was like, "Sir, would you like a free game mat?" And I was like, You literally just now gave me a game mat. And she got embarrassed and apologized and everything. And I was like, am I really that forgettable? So that whole thing was pretty funny. And then when we were on our way back, one of the other people working there was like, "Sir, would you like a free game mat?" Again, they were joking though because they thought that it was pretty funny as well. But free game mat, can't beat that. That's pretty cool. I also bought a Grand Ole Gameroom Expo shirt. Pretty cool shirt. I like it. It's got Mario, Star, like some Donkey Kong things, and then you got Pac-Man down here. Now this is actually the shirt from 2017 because they had old shirts from prior years that they were selling at a marked down discount, and I was on a budget, so I went ahead and bought the 2017 shirt for a lot cheaper, and plus I liked the design of the shirt, so I thought that was pretty cool. Now for my final pickup, at one of the vendors that was selling retro games. So most of you know I love the GameCube. I'm going for a complete GameCube collection, but I also like to collect really obscure items for the GameCube as well. And I saw this Circuit City exclusive Star Fox Adventures survival kit. Box is in relatively decent condition, but it's a Star Fox Adventures survival kit for the Nintendo GameCube from Circuit City. And on the back, it shows some screenshots and it says, "Adventure Survival Kit contents. Power up with Fox Fuel as you defend a dinosaur planet. Keep your mind in the game at all times with Game Tip toilet paper." That's right, this box has a roll of toilet paper in it with Star Fox Adventures game tips on it. Not even joking. Keep them out with your custom door hanger while you battle General Scales. Unfortunately, the only thing missing from this box is the custom door hanger, but in the box we do have the Star Fox Adventures green apple soda. So this is an official Star Fox Adventures Fox Fuel soda for the Nintendo GameCube. I am of course not going to drink this, but that's pretty cool. And then also in the box, of course, we have our Star Fox Adventures Game Tips toilet paper. Yeah, that's a bit weird, but there you go. So I thought that was pretty cool, and it will go really good with my GameCube collection. Plus, I'm a fan of Star Fox Adventures. I think it's a really good game personally. So this is pretty cool. It's a little disappointing that the door hanger is not included, but you know, I paid a really good price for it. It was only 15 bucks. I think that's more than fair, and it's a really cool item that I can't wait to display with the rest of my GameCube items. So all in all, for my first gaming expo that I've ever gone to, I had an absolute blast. It was so much fun playing all the arcades and the pinball machines, checking out the retro game room with all the consoles hooked up. It was all just a whole lot of fun, and I'm definitely going back next year. As a matter of fact, next year I think I'm going to bring Mama Retro with me and see what Mama Retro thinks about all that, because I think she would really have a good time. So I'm going to plan on that for next year. But before we get to the special announcement on the channel, let's get a word from my good friend Doug on what he thought about the expo.
I thought it was pretty cool. Lots of really old pinball machines was kind of neat to see, and then all of the super old arcade games like the original Pac-Man and Donkey Kong. There wasn't a whole lot of merch. merch booth.
Yeah, no, not really.
Which is kind of disappointing. The AT&T people harassing people was kind of rough.
Yeah.
The retro game setup they had in that one room was really cool. I found a lot of obscure stuff that you don't really see much anymore. What he said was Contra Hardcore.
Contra Hardcore for the Sega Genesis, yep. The Japanese version.
A completely obscure Zelda game that I'd never heard of or seen before.
How about that Die Hard arcade on the Sega Saturn?
That was fucking hilarious.
Yes, it was. How about that cool little Pong thing we played right there at the beginning?
That thing was super neat. I actually may inquire about how much that one is.
Probably a lot.
Probably a lot, but it would be really cool in a game.
So what do you think about the idea of bringing Mama Retro to this little expo next year?
I think it'll be hilarious to watch her sort of overreact to everything.
So what are your closing, just final sort of overall thoughts about the whole thing?
I think it was a really cool idea, and I loved the setup for all of the retro games and all the multi-carts they had to just kind of sit down and play old stuff that you know haven't seen in a long time or is really obscure and can't find very much anymore or at all really. The modern stuff was okay and cool, but kind of Right. We all have that stuff at home anyway.
Right.
You know, we can play that anytime we want. Granted, we can also do that with the retro stuff, but the finding the more obscure games and consoles was really cool to see.
I agree. All right, Doug, thanks for joining me, man.
Hell yeah, anytime.
All right, now let's talk about the special announcement for the channel. Many of you, I'm sure, are familiar with the Game Chasers. They are a couple of large YouTubers with over 100,000 subscribers that have a show where they go out hunting for games, very high production values, really amazing show, very entertaining, which I suggest that you all check out. If you haven't heard of the Game Chasers, I will leave a link to their YouTube channel in the description down below. Now, some of you may also be aware that the Game Chasers are making a movie, like an actual movie, and they raised the money for this movie through Kickstarter. Me and a really good friend of mine from Texas, shout out to Gabe, which you all will be seeing in a future video, we teamed up together to back a tier of the Kickstarter that allows us to actually hang out on the movie set. On Monday, November 18th and Tuesday, November 19th, we will be down in Texas, me and Gabe, hanging out on the set of the Game Chasers movie, hanging out with the cast and the crew, which includes the Game Chasers and other YouTubers as well. And I'm not sure yet, but I may get the opportunity to do a short interview with some of the cast, so that's very exciting. Now, I leave out for Texas on Saturday, November 16th, and I'm going to be chronicling the entire journey, posting regular updates on social media. Information down below for those social media accounts if you want to follow that and check it out. I don't know yet what I'm going to be able to post while I'm on the movie set. They're going to be pretty strict on what gets filmed and what gets photographed. So I'm not quite sure what I'll get to post from that yet until I actually get there and find out what I am and am not allowed to do and share with you all. But I will try to share as much as I can, and at the very least you will probably see some videos in the future showing some of the footage from on set and things like that, depending on what I am and am not able to film. But it's going to be an absolute blast. I'm really looking forward to it, and I cannot wait to share the journey with you all. So there you have it, my first experience at a gaming expo was an absolute blast. I enjoyed it greatly. If you've been to a gaming expo, let me know in the comments down below which ones you've gone to and what your experience was. If you've been to this particular gaming expo, let me know that in the comments down below as well, because maybe I can catch you next year and we can say hi to each other and play some games together. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure and hit that like button. It really means a lot. And if you're new to the channel and not subscribed, consider subscribing so that you can join the Retro Wolf family. Until next time, folks, keep playing games and having a good time. Go to your local gaming expo if you have one, and I will see you all in the next video.